There's two Hebrew words we're going to learn today. Shachar and emet. Shachar is the Hebrew word for falseness, falsehood, a lie. We'll use lie for our translation today, okay? It's made up of three Hebrew letters, and the Hebrew language is incredibly complex, and not to get too deep because we don't have the time, but every Hebrew letter is not just a letter, it's also a number. It's not only a number, the letter has meaning. Each letter is made up of other Hebrew letters. There's meaning in the way they're written. It's actually the language that the Father used to create all that was created. So it's a very important language. So there's a lot of meaning, and the meaning I'm going to give you is deep, likely something you've never heard before, but barely scratching the surface. But Shachar is made up of three Hebrew letters, Shin, Chuf, and Rosh. Well, what does that mean, Jeff? Who cares about that? Well, let me show you. Those three letters occur consecutively, back to back, in the middle of the alphabet, a 22-letter alphabet, okay? So the implication from a rabbinical standpoint is that the lesson being taught just by the letter placement alone is that it's a very narrow viewpoint. Am I making sense? In other words, here's an example of the lie. I could complain about my neighbor, and I could say, wow, these neighbors are good for nothing. Boy, I tell you what, they don't have any respect. They're new to the neighborhood. They make noise late at night. They wake me up. Boy, they're terrible. Right? I could say that. Because if they did those things, would I be lying? Careful how you answer. Our natural tendency would be to say, no, you're not lying. If that's what they do and you said that, then how could it be wrong? Right? But here's the thing. That's a narrow view. And let me contrast it with emet, the truth. Emet is also made up of three Hebrew letters. Aleph, the first letter, Tav, the last letter, and Mim, the exact middle of the alphabet. In the rabbinical perspective, what the sages say, the prophets and rabbis of old who put together the 66 books that we have in our Bible today, they say this: emet, truth, looks at the whole picture. So the retort of emet to Shachar in my neighbor scenario would be this: yeah, they make noise, but when they do, it's usually only on a Friday night or a Saturday night. Really, it's only about a 5 or 10 minute period, and then they're quiet again. And reality is, it's likely the 17-year-old coming home, and he probably got in trouble for waking up his family members. And other than that, they really are quiet. They really don't bother anybody. So the truth is, when we look at the whole picture, are they really bad neighbors? No. They're just people who have a flaw. And the Word teaches us to not worry about getting the speck out of our brother's eye when we got a big 2x4. And I'm putting it into modern English here. When we got a big 2x4 sticking out of our own eye. Does that make sense to you?